Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Kirby Smart, the Georgia Bulldogs, land just a difference maker in the 2026 class, landing the commitment of four-star wide receiver Vance Spafford from the state of California. Now, if I were to have to sell this kid to the Georgia Bulldog fans, it would not be very hard. I'll do it in 30 seconds. I mean, at 5'11, 175, he's not the biggest cat that you're going to see at the wide receiver position. Three things really jump out. One, extremely productive at the high school ranks. Out there in the state of California, sophomore year, 83 catches, over 1,500 yards, 22 touchdowns, runs a 10.69 in the 100-meter dash. And I don't even think those are the two things that are the most impressive when you're talking about Vance Spafford. This kid understands the wide receiver position at such a high level. We talk about the straight line speed with that 10.69 in the 100-meter dash. What I love more, the short area quicks. I mean, you talk about what he can do after the catch, what he can do with releases, how he can separate down the field. That's one of those metrics that it's hard to evaluate unless you watch the kid play. That's what I think he brings to the table more than anything else. And there's kind of a difference between a wide receiver that can run really, really fast and a wide receiver that knows how to use his speed. Not a knock on Arian Smith, but you look at Arian Smith coming out of high school, we all loved the speed that he brought to Georgia. He was kind of a track star that put on a football helmet and had some real learning curves that he had to go through. You look at Vance Spafford, he's a football player, just happens to have a really good track and field background, and he shows it on the football field, plays with that speed you're looking for. We've seen Georgia continue to try to find difference makers at the wide receiver position. Vance Spafford is one of those guys. I think he plays that slot wide receiver role within this Georgia offense, which we all know is very, very important. I think more importantly, this kid's a football player that understands the wide receiver position at such a high level. You don't catch 83 balls for 1,500 yards as a sophomore in high school playing big time football out there in California if you don't understand the sport. I think Vance Spafford does in a big way. Fired up to get into this one now. Before we do, and as always, to the Georgia fans, y'all know I love talking this program on the recruiting trail. Y'all continue to show a ton of love to the boys. Can't thank you guys enough. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. All the go dogs that you guys throw in the comment section, that stuff means the world. Appreciate you guys. Without further ado, let's get into Vance Spafford. And again, some of the things that jump off the paper. Elite production at the high school level, which is something that I think is important and not talked enough about. You know, when we talk the recruiting trail, a lot of our eyeballs go to, height, weight, speed metrics, which is certainly important. Like for George Kirby Smart's made a living on get guys that are just big, strong, fast. And he's obviously had a lot of success doing so. You can't lose the football player element. And that's really what I think Vance Spafford brings. You love the track and field times. I mean, 10.69, this kid burns, and you see that speed on the football field. But I think more importantly, he's a really good football player. He's a really good wide receiver that is going to be so easy to incorporate in this offense. I mean, he can win vertically with that straight line speed, but he also can create separation. He also can operate after the catch exceptionally well. You want to run him on those short intermediate route concepts, ask him to create separation in man coverage. He can understand that. He can do that. He can sit it down in zone coverage. You can slip him out some screens and just ask him to go be a dog after the catch, and you can ask him to just go win vertically. Not many defensive backs are going to be able to run with this dude. I mean, there's so many ways you can get him involved, and that's kind of what I look for in wide receivers. We see so many wide receivers, and I would argue that in the past, Georgia has had some of those kind of wide receivers that are, you might say, kind of one-trick ponies. They can do something really, really well, but not really a polished and ultra-dynamic wide receiver when it comes to the overall position. Vance Spafford's that guy that can do it all and can do so many different things. It's not going to be hard to get this kid involved in this Georgia offense. You turn on the field. This kid's really fun to watch because you see the straight line speed, but you also see some nuance to his game that I think really excites a lot of Georgia fans. You start rolling in, and again, this is just some of the highlights, kind of understanding how this kid likes to win, tempo in his routes, and then what he can do after the catch. And you see the short area quicks, you see the contact bounce, and when you see it's time to just kind of put the pedal to the metal a little bit and just go outrun people to the boundary, he's got that burst that it's hard to teach. And again, when you're talking about 100-meter dash times, a lot of times just long speed. Like this kid that kind of like doesn't really take a long time to really get going. Nice tempo on the route right here, setting up this defensive back, tracks the ball exceptionally well down the field and works through contact. And you'll see that on a couple of reps. So he ain't the biggest wide receiver, but he can go play through some contact, and go make a play on the football. What he can do after the catch, this is what excites me as well. He plays a lot of boundary wide receiver at the high school ranks. I think this kid will play more of that slot wide receiver role as he gets to Georgia. Love what he can do after the catch. So fluid, has such a good understanding of how to get upfield, how to get vertical. And then again, when it is time, if you take a bad angle on this kid, you're toast. Like you ain't catching him because he's just the fastest player on the football field. A lot of different ways he can win. Really, really good bag of releases too. I mean, you can tell he has worked really, really hard on how to create separation off the line of scrimmage. And then you see that ability to go play through some contact and go have some ball skills, make some contested catches. He ain't that big, but plays bigger than what he is, which I think excites a lot of Georgia fans. So many different ways he can work. Again, work vertical. If you're a safety, you take a bad angle, you're toast with this kid working through some contact. You turn on some of the highlights. Again, really, really good release from Vance Spafford. And this quarterback just knows it. Like if you're just going to go play single high against him, really good release, presses vertical, goes, finds the football. Look at the hand fighting at the top of the route. Like, again, crafty wide receiver that understands how to play the position, going up, making a play. So many boxes that I think this kid checks. And again, if you're Georgia recruits pretty much every position at the highest level you can possibly do. That's why Georgia is one of the best teams in the country every single year. That wide receiver position has at times left a little bit to be desired on the recruiting trail. This is a massive win. One of the best wide receivers in the 2026 class. Fired up about this one. We'll close it out there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.